I'll talk about sourdough starters just briefly. There's all sorts of different ways to take care of your starter. Mine is very easy and basic. I do have a very well-established starter, so if you're starting out with a brand new starter, these directions might not apply to you so much. But when I use my starter, it usually comes out of the fridge and I let it come to room temperature before I use it, but that's not always the case. Sometimes I use it cold and it turns out just fine. And then when I feed my starter, I'm just doing equal parts flour and filtered water. And the amount really just depends on whatever I feel like doing. If I have a little bit of starter in the jar, I'm probably gonna feed it either like 75 grams water and flour each, or if I really wanna bulk it up, I'll do 100. It really depends on how much I'm looking to have and what I'm planning on using it for. So right now I've got my sourdough starter and I've already poured my filtered water in there so you can see the water. And then I'll add about 80 grams of all-purpose flour. You want to make sure that you're always feeding it with the same flour. It's okay to transition it to whatever your flour is. If you get one gifted to you, just give it a few days of feeding it and discarding if you're gonna switch flour. So I've got my flour and my water. Turn off my scale, and that'll get mixed up. And once it's mixed well, I'll usually let it come to room temperature maybe for an hour or two, and then it goes right back in the fridge. A lot of people think that sourdough is very rigid and about rules, but I found that it's very forgiving and you can kind of do your own thing with it. I do not feed it and discard every day. That seems like way too much work. I only discard when I'm getting ready to bake. I'll feed and discard. Or if I need discard for some other recipe that I'm using. That gets mixed up really well. And it's gonna look like a thick pancake batter. You can see down in there. So that'll come to room temperature and then go back in the fridge.